My Love of Life Energy is a podcast created by Anna Scott. Anna knows that every human being sees life uniquely. In this podcast, she will talk to people and learn from them. These conversations are to shine the brilliance of each human being she speaks to. Join her. After each exploration, you will expand on your insights and see truth and beauty.
Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to my podcast, My Love of Life Energy. And today I am doing another interview on the book Story of the Muses. And I'm so blessed that I get to have Adey Jones. Am I saying that correct, Del? I always get embarrassed.
That's okay. It's close enough. It's Adey Jones.
Adey Jones. Okay, so I got to interview Del before when I was doing my podcast, but she and I are participants in this book. And so I am just so thrilled because I had the best time with you last time.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. I was excited for this second round of interviews with you. So this is great.
Yeah, so tell me how I've seen you've been writing, and how did you come into this writing?
Gosh, that is how I came into this writing, because I always thought I was a terrible writer. And I have writer's envy when I hear people say, "Oh, I've always written. I live to write. I have to write." And I'm like, "Oh God, that is not me. That is so not me." I have a lot to say, but writing is a whole other beast. And so I found myself here because I needed help. And I basically didn't really start writing until a couple of years ago. And I took a couple of different writing classes. Both were amazing. But as we know, this book came out of our work that we've done with Jules Swales in method writing, which again was just it was revolutionary, because I had a story. I knew I had a story, but how to tell the story, as Jules would say, was what I learned in her class. So so that's how I got myself here. And I still have. It's interesting. I think I still have that. What is that word that we use? The imposter syndrome. I still feel like I skated in here by mistake. It's like, okay, I'll join the group, but somehow I was overlooked. I snuck in when I shouldn't have. So
I don't believe that. I've heard some of your writing and I've seen it, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm really curious. What? We're both coaches, and with Jules, what she's pointing to in the creative genius, I'm really curious how this writing, if it has impacted your coaching at all.
Gosh, that's so interesting. Let me think for a minute. That's a really, really good question. I think it has. It's highlighted because I don't know if you know, but most of my work is with codependency and narcissistic abuse. And, as somebody that identified as being codependent for most of my life, that feelings of insecurity, not being good enough, low self-worth, all of those things really, really play out in my writing. As far as a coach, I feel incredibly confident about what I do in my coaching. I have such great results. That's all well and fine. But as I said, I do notice it's like, oh, hang on a minute, you're teaching codependency, and look at you now. You're like really in the depth of wanting to hide, that sort of, fear of hurting other people. Not so much these pieces, because they're more, they're not as literal. But in my other book that I was published in, I tell my story. And I had this incredible shame hangover, I call it, that sort of, oh my God, what have I done? I've just revealed everything. And who have I hurt by revealing this? And that's all my codependency again, having to sort of put myself second and make sure everybody else in the world is okay. So I noticed, so for my own personal growth, writing has really, really held my feet to the fire. That's that last sort of, last little remnants of, oh gosh, this is where it's all still showing up. So.
I just feel your, and I don't know what's the right word, like courage or bravery in your writing. Is that somewhere in there?
Yeah. I mean, yes, because I've had the courage to move past my sort of limited personal mind that's got all these stories about why I shouldn't reveal things, why I shouldn't talk about things, or, as I say, the insecure thoughts like, oh, you're not good enough. Who are you to share this? So it has taken courage for me to not sort of indulge that thinking, to hear it and to allow it to move through me, but to not have it dictate how I show up in the world. For me, in the work that I do, it's more important that I help people than I indulge my insecurities. That's how I look. Ultimately, it's binary choice. And I can either stay small because I've listened to my insecure mind, or I could be courageous and help people by just showing up and sharing my story and what I see, how I see the world. And I will say one thing. This is what I'm noticing, because, as I said, the other book I was in was it was more memoir. And because these pieces were written from like the muse energy, I almost I have the thing in my head that goes, oh, blame it on the muse. Wasn't you anyway.
So I'm really curious, because this book is the stories from the Muses. What did you see as the Muses? Like, what were the Muses to you?
That's a lovely question too. I used to do a lot of I used to be a shadow coach years ago, and it is about sort of integrating all the disowned aspects of yourself. And for me, the Muses were the parts of the disowned self, especially when we have muses like the seductress siren whore, I mean, it was like that permission to write from that place within us. I mean, that's within all of us, it's part of us. And to have, have that permission to tap into that. Some of the other ones were easier to tap into, as in, not easier, but I suppose more socially acceptable. Like we all know we have a child within us. We all know we have that maternal mother within us. But how many of us can really claim, yep, I got a seductress siren whore in me, or So it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to tap into them and to really sort of feel the quality, the difference between each one of those. As you can tell, most fun with the siren.
I was going to ask you, can I ask you where, because you're really pointing to, like, you have to feel these energies in your body.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that you really did feel them. Like you could really tap into them. And I'm curious, where did you feel the siren, the whore? Where did you feel her?
Gosh, that's so interesting. It was so long ago. I would have to really sort of almost go into a meditation to feel that out again. As I'm just sitting here thinking, probably, if I'm really honest, my groin area, my pelvis, is that's that place. I remember there was other muses that were literally sort of on the tip of my tongue. It was really interesting how they do show up, how Jules encourages us to find them in our body. But it was very, once the energy came, the whole body became that. So it wasn't so much just a tiny part of my body. I was it. I was fully 100% it. So.
Oh, wow. Del, you're speaking it, and I can feel the energy coming out of you. And did you see that the energy gave you words?
Oh yeah. As I said, it was almost like it was almost easier because, like I said, it was like I could almost like blame it on the muse. It wasn't me. I didn't say that, So, I didn't write that. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And did you have a muse that you loved?
I was rereading my pieces this morning, actually, and I would have to say there was, I mean, there's some really poignant, even though I was writing from the muse, there was that, I was telling story. I was telling parts of my life. And for sure, the sort of what I call the death of the virgin, the piece is called Easy Prey, but it's basically when I lost my virginity, and it wasn't something that was voluntary. So that was very painful. And, rereading it this morning, it was like I could feel the emotion again. But it was interesting because it wasn't, I can't even put it into words so much. I could feel the emotion of the virgin rather than even mine. But I teared up for her. Didn't feel
wow.
me anymore. It was an interesting, and I had the same experience with the child muse. I read it, and I had so much compassion for this young child that wrote this piece.
Well, say more about that. I can feel what you're saying, and it is touching me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I often look back at my life, and I'm so removed from it in the sense that they're just stories now. They don't really, I don't sort of, when I reflect back on certain events in my life or my childhood, or like I say, the losing my virginity, not willingly. I when I reflect on those, I don't get an emotional reaction. It's just, these are stories from my past. They're, that happened. But somehow when I read the piece, I just got flooded with emotion. It was like it ignited something in me. It was very interesting.
It's really interesting what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is appropriate, is there's a reverence for what happened and how you wrote about it. Like there was I don't even know what I'm saying, but that's the energy that I'm feeling from you, is a reverence of it, of all of it.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful word. And I think that's actually very true. There was more, I was more deeply connected to those events than I have been in years, because they just, I wasn't, I'm more in a healthy way not in a cold way, but just I said, I'm not stuck in that feeling or that pain anymore. I've moved on. I'm fine. And it's all true. But something about reading the pieces again, and I think it does have to do with the fact that it wasn't me necessarily that was writing them. It was the energy of the child that was coming through. So I had more compassion and more love than maybe I experienced in a while.
And it also, the feeling I have is, because you said it earlier, you used to do the shadow work.
Mm.
It's like all parts got brought to the table. These are my words, so sorry. That all parts got to the table and held.
Yeah.
Rather than disassociation, like the energy was felt and experienced through you, and in it was a liberation of it.
Yeah. And what's interesting is you saying that, because that's so true for me, for the child piece I wrote, and for the virgin piece I wrote. For the seductress Sarenhor, I definitely felt I was channeling my mother. It was like she was coming out full force. And I just felt her energy coming through me.
Wow.
I was writing that. And then with the other piece, which was the crone hag witch piece I did, was definitely, that felt very much ancestral. It felt like there's, generations coming through me for that.
What I feel is that, I don't know which one of the muses it is that you're a liberator of the energy. Like I think about the horror, that energy in women has been so stamped down. Like we can't be the passionate energy that we are. But when you're writing and talking about it, I'm feeling this liberation of what gets to come into light, the full expression of it.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Embracing it all. No judgment. It's all different aspects of us all. So yeah, it was a beautiful process. I definitely enjoyed. I mean, there's many levels we've worked with Jules on, but this was one of my favorites for sure. There was a liberation in it. That's really how it felt.
Did it impact your writing afterwards?
Yes, definitely. Again, less up here, less writing from my personal thinking, more from an energetic, what wants to come through.
Oh God.
Tapping into creative genius, but it was almost like, creative genius and the muse were hand in hand, just, going for it. So, yeah.
There seems to be, when you're speaking, so much more freedom in who you get to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that true?
100%. And again, going back to that shadow work that I used to do, I was, I studied with a woman called Debbie Ford, and she used to say that we're born into these mansions, with all these rooms. And these rooms, there's like the doorway that says, bitch on it, or greedy, or angry, or jealous, or loving, or kind. And we've got all these rooms in this mansion. But society has us sort of shut off certain rooms, like, oh, can't go in the angry room, can't go in the greedy room, can't go in the jealous room. And she says, before we know it, we're living in these like 2-bedroom semi-detached houses, like living a very life.
We're living in trailer parks.
Yeah, exactly. No, hang on a minute. I'm in a trailer here. So
I don't think that looks like one.
But I'm just joking. But but when I started doing her work, and I started doing her work in 2005, it was so liberating. It was so liberating to say, yeah, I'm jealous, and I can be an angry bitch, and I can be, and just to own it. That's suppressing and denying all these parts of ourselves. It's as well as confining. You're just shutting down so much energy, and it did feel that way with the Muses. It's like get out the way. I'm writing today. We don't need your insecure sort of self-limiting thinking. It's coming through whether you like it or not. And it was liberating. It was like, hell yes, I am all of this and more. So.
Oh my God. When you just said that, Del, I want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Because we so limit ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The self-judgment, the shoulds, the shame, the suppressing, the trying to be something for somebody else. And it's when we truly, truly own all the aspects of ourselves, we just show up so differently. We show up with compassion and generosity because we've practiced that with ourselves first. We're not judging ourselves. We're just accepting ourselves, and that can't help but flow out to everybody else around us. It's the most important work in the world, I think, is to truly just own that we all have. Another thing that Debbie used to say is that, we're all born with the capacity to be a Mother Teresa and a Hitler. We have everything within us. And some of us act out more as Mother Teresa and some act more like Hitler. But the thing is, we are all created with the capacity to feel and be anything, just pure potential.
Well, it sounds like in your writing that it became more 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really got to feel it all, and like it became, the feeling I have is like snakes coming through you and showing them and then turning into something else.
I love that. Love that image. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to say metamorphosis. Yeah, I said it right. I was like, my brain was going, oh, you're going to screw this one up. But it is. And that is the beauty of, when I first started doing Jules's classes, there was a part of me that was like, what, rules? We have exercises to do? Is this creative writing? But it's amazing that sometimes when we have a container, how it's almost like a safety to really explore. You know, like I used to be a painter, and sometimes there is that sort of giant blank canvas. It's like, where do I begin? But sometimes if you have, even if you just put that brush stroke across and go, okay, that's the first stroke, where do I go from here? There's something to then build on. And I think that without a doubt, I mean, I think my writing has improved incredibly because of Jules's classes. Learning the fundamentals of method writing were just life-changing, I think, and gave me a lot of benefits as well.
What you're pointing to, I think, is the tightrope between is in our world, we're three principles people, the tightrope between the form and the formless.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a small form that we play in, but it's the door to the kingdom of the formless. Is that?
That's beautifully put. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But that safety allows us and anchors us to let everything come through because it's got a safe container.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It is amazing when we know we're safe, how we play full out, you know. When we know we can't be hurt, we can't be damaged, we can't do anything wrong.
There's something that you just said in playing full out, and I could feel it in the way you said it, that you understand it. And what does that mean? Because it seems to me like you played full out through these muses.
Yeah, and again, I think, you know, like I was saying, there's still parts of me that can be sort of a little sort of insecure and codependent and nervous and anxious about, you know, the perfectionism and the wanting it to be right or good or anything like that. And that's, again, it's all coming from here. When my little personal mind thinks it's all down to me. But as I say, when you really, really tap into that, no, it's not down to me. In fact, when I come from that place, it's so limited. But when I really just open up to what we call creative energy flowing through me, but even more so, it's like the muses to me, it's almost like, you know, when you have that sort of chest as a child with all the dress up costumes in it, and you get to play dress up. And for me, it was like I get to play with my full out, seductress siren or energy today. I'm going to play that, I'm going to put the hooker suit on and I'm just going to play, but or the child or any of them. But it was, for me, it was like immersing myself into that energy and allowing that just to play and have fun. That's, I think, yeah.
I can just feel it. And I think about, like, I look around in life and I think that's what people are missing, is just playing with it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like letting it come through. Because I can feel you talking and I just want to go out and I'm like, how do I get some of this? And it's in me, but how, I can feel you're like, oh, all out, baby, we're doing this.
Mm. And it's the principles. It really is. It's that, I often think of, it's like a trapeze act, it's like, now, can you imagine being up on a trapeze and you're swinging and you're grabbing somebody's hands and you're letting go of your thing and hoping somebody's going to catch you and all of that, and you're 100 feet up. Now, when you know that you have a safety net, that even if you slip, you don't catch their hand, you fall, you're not going to hit the ground, you're going to hit the net. And that is the three principles understanding for me is it's the net, it's the safety net. I can go for those, trapeze moves that I would never have done before because I know I cannot fail. I can slip and I can fall, but I'm caught. And it's not devastating. It's not life-threatening. I lived my life, the first 50 years of my life, terrified of slipping and falling, terrified of making a fool of myself, terrified of judgment, terrified of everything. And it's so incredible when you finally realize there's nothing to fear. There really isn't. There is no tribe out there that's coming for me if I'm not perfect. And so I show up to life very differently. I have two images in my head. One is I think I'm going to live to at least 100 because of my parents and everybody in my family did. So I figure I'm going to be around another almost 40 years. I'm 63 now. And the way I was living my life before, I would have crawled into that grave going, God, I made it here safely. Aren't I lucky? 100 years on the planet, playing safe, and I got here safely. And then I have this other image of myself now, which is I skid into that grave, 100 miles an hour going, ooh, that was a hell of a ride. And I lived life. I experienced life. And I'm happy to now transition. But that's the energy for me.
Oh my God, I feel it. And it's like you're seizing it. Look what you've done. You just wrote another book. You've just published more stories in this book. You're unstoppable. I know that you're writing. Yeah. You're finishing your other book.
I've got two more coming out. One is going to be part memoir, and it's part also based on my 6-week program I do called Spiritual Solution to Codependency and Narcissistic Abuse. But the other one that's really wanting to come through too, working title is Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. Oh, no, sorry, not looking for love. Sorry, Looking for God in All the Wrong Places.
Oh, wow.
And it's the story of a fatherless daughter. And that, I felt that I was looking for my father all my life in my relationships because I grew up without a father. And really, I was looking for God. I was looking for the safety from spirit, not from a man. And it took me years to see that. And so that's another book that wants to come in because like I said, I think most of my issues around codependency was directly due to having a father that lived a couple of miles down the road who never acknowledged me. And that feeling of I'm not worthy to be even seen, heard, loved, looked after, owned, claimed, whatever those words were as a small child, it was all, I'm not good enough. If I had been better, he would have chosen to love me. Now, as an adult, sensible adult, I can see that that's not true, but I carried that story with me for years. I am unworthy. I am unlovable. So if I can help other people by, sharing my journey and what I've seen now and,
All I know is whoever gets to work with you and finds your stuff they're very blessed.
Oh, so sweet.
Very blessed. We are coming to the end. How do people find you? It will all be linked in the bio, but how do people find you? One is they can buy the book, Stories from the Muses. It's on Amazon. And please go look. Please review it. Where else, Del?
Adeyjones.com. You'll find my website. You'll find there's actually a free PDF copy of the chapter I wrote for the other book I wrote, which tells you my whole life story and how coming across the principles really changed my life beyond anything I could ever imagined. So it's all there, and YouTube and Facebook and all the other places we're all at. So,
thank you so much. I adore speaking with you. I always get something so much out of it.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you so much. That was lovely.